Hey everybody, it's a cold morning out here. It's about 10 a.m. and it's made it up to about 17 degrees now, but it's not too bad. It's only supposed to get up into the mid-20s today. But so anyways, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys. I'm going to be showing some old video of how we moved our chickens from Arkansas to our farm. And I kind of wanted to explain how things are going to work, and I kind of wanted to show how we did things with this chicken coop, how we fixed this chicken coop up. So we sold our house in Arkansas in October of 2020, and at the time we had decided that we would keep our chicken coop that we'd use down there for the new owner. And what we decided to do was, there were two sheds on this place, and of the two sheds, this was the better of the two. The other shed we wound up burning, actually just a couple weeks ago, because it was just too far gone. But this shed was salvageable. This place used to be a dairy farm, and they had to keep their milk cool before the milkman would come pick it up and take it off and, deliver it. And the way that they did that was in this spring house. This was built probably 100 years ago, maybe even more, I don't know. But there's a spring down there. So what they would do is, when they would milk the cows, the milk would be in bottles or cans or whatever they stored it in, and they would come put it down in this trough right here in this cold water. And right through the summertime, it would keep it nice and cool, and that was just the way that they stored their milk, and it worked. I mean, I'm sure it worked pretty good. The spring water's cold. I've never seen this spring go dry myself. We've only been looking at this property since last July, though, and the area was in kind of a drought at that time, and it still hadn't been dry. It didn't flow near as good as it does right now, but it wasn't dry. But I am told that in really dry years it does go dry, unlike some of the other springs on this property. Up in here, there's a little hole in the roof, and they would send water up to the top building. And they would also have water troughs up there. So anyways, up in this top building, they used to have water come up through the floor. And I guess they would store their milk up here, but that's long gone. Someone had ripped all that out. This is kind of the way this coop was when we found it. We've had to do some things to this coop to get it ready for the chickens. Included leveling the coop out. So this coop was really off level, and the reason was because the front here sags. And you can see how this front concrete has just sunken over time. And so it leaves the front of this coop with no support, nearly half of it. What that was doing is, because this front was sagging, it was stressing out the wall, and it was causing this wall to bow outward. And what that was doing was pulling down on the roof line. As I'll show you, the roof line up there was just sagging really bad, and it was pulling the rafters apart inside. On the side, I nailed a 2x6 into this oak 2x6 right here. About halfway back, you can see where I took the siding off, all the way back there. And I nailed it in, and it came out here in front of the coop a ways. And it was enough that I was able to take a jack on underneath that 2x6. And I basically jacked up this front side of the coop. And then I repeated that same thing over on this side. So, and I did that. I used a level inside, and I did that until I got it semi-level. As level as you can get it for a 100-year-old building. And this old oak has a memory too. So you're never going to get it perfect, but I got it a lot better. And then I just kind of put these rocks underneath to act as a shim. And I might do something different eventually, but it works for now. You can see I have this post here. This coop didn't have this post before. I put this in here. And really it's just two 2x4s nailed together. And so what I had to do was basically drive the roof line up in order so that I could pull the walls back together. And what I did was put this header up here, this 6x6 post. I pulled this out of that other shed building, and I cut it to what I could use, and then used it sort of as a header. And then I took these 2x4s underneath it with a bottle jack underneath them, and very carefully, so that it wouldn't kick me, I basically just jacked these up. And it jacked up the roof line The header board up there, spanning 3 rafters, made it so that it would jack up the whole roof line fairly uniformly and easily. And then there was a strap and ratchet going from right there to right there. And then as I jacked that roof line up, I was ratcheting these 2 walls together. You had to do it simultaneously. And then as I did that, I would come out and adjust this front because it would change the front somewhat in terms of jacking up the front. Next, I had to seal it up. You can see out here, this outside siding, it's in pretty rough shape. There's a lot of holes and cracks and, you know, there's a lot of different places that something could get in. What I did instead, just so that we could get these chickens in quickly, in a jiffy, was put the shiplap siding that I had up. And it works really well, it seals it up. And then up in these eaves, I want these open for good ventilation. Wind doesn't come through these, but it does allow a lot of ventilation, a lot of airflow, so I put hardware cloth here to keep animals out. Chicken wire does not work. Animals will chew through chicken wire. So I use hardware cloth. At that point, we were ready to get the chickens up here. So what we did was actually headed back down to Arkansas at that point and got all the moving trucks loaded up so that we could just get up here. And at that point, we were ready to get the chickens. So my aunt came with us, and she brought her truck and her horse trailer, and she also brought dog kennels. So in the middle of the night, we went and got the chickens. We kidnapped the chickens out of their chicken coop when they were sleeping, and we put them in the dog kennels. And then we put the dog kennels in her truck and drove them on up here with everything else that we brought up. And then the next day, we released them, and so at that point, they were ready to go. And we put them in here. Since then, I built this roost. This roost has 3 rungs. They like to get up on there, especially on cold nights, and perch. And then I built those egg boxes. I built these egg boxes out of scrap on the place. We've got these 2x4s. These were actually, I had built a fence around my garden in Arkansas a few years ago. And when we came up here, I decided to take the fence down and bring the wood because it's still good wood. And I used quite a bit of that wood actually to, well, very small portion of that wood. I used it to make these egg boxes. And then this is plywood that I pulled out of some old buildings on this place. And it's made a good egg box. We put some pine shavings and some hay in there, some straw. It works pretty well, and it's just mounted to the wall. And they've got their water barrel here. They don't really use the water barrel anymore. Actually, it is cleaned off. They like to get up on it at night. Probably just take it out for now. It's nice to have if we need it, but they have that spring down there. And in the summertime, it may not. So it might go dry. But then they got their feed back here. They got their granite. They got their oyster shell. If you didn't know, I like to give chickens rock. This is a granite rock that I buy. You could just, it's oftentimes labeled as just a chicken grit. But basically that, they eat that and it goes into their gizzard and helps them grind up grain and digest their grain. If you feed them grain, it's just a lot better to have that rock. And then I give them oyster shell. They probably get most of the rock they need for their eggs outside, free ranging, but I like to supply it just in case they need it. They don't use very much of it. It's not very expensive either, so, you know, it works pretty well. But yep, that's the coop. Going down to get the mail.
Going to get the chickens. They love scrap time. Hey, ladies! Here they come. Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies. There we go. You guys ready for some goodies? Oh yeah. Hi guys. How are ya? some stragglers. Come on, ladies.
A little bit later in the evening now. I'm just going up to close the check the furnace, and I gotta close the chickens in a minute. So this is a great big pit I've been digging out the last couple days, and the purpose of this pit, I'm gonna be using this pit to raise seedlings this spring for my 2-acre market garden. So I have some footage of this. This will be included in a future video, so I'll just kind of leave it at that, but that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect in the future. But furnace seems to be doing pretty good lately. I fill it up about this much once every 24 hours, and it's been holding just fine. There'll still be wood left when I come back to get it. But I'll have to stir it. I'll go out every morning and stir it. You know, maybe use the poker here to kind of stack the logs back up properly if they fall over or anything. And a lot of that depends on the type of wood you're burning too. Most of what we've been burning has been hickory, and lately some hackberry occasionally, and quite a bit of white oak too normally. But yeah, I do this every night. I actually enjoy it. A lot of people don't like cutting wood or filling the furnace, or it's kind of a chore, but I think it's a lot of fun actually. Night, girls.